so I went there and I decided that I would try and break down those stereotypes because I'm not someone who believes in stereotypes. So when I did go there, people later on, so in grade 9 and 10, believed that I was an old man with a stick up my, I won't say the last word. So I did go in there and I joined student council and I was in band and I was in football. I was pretty much an all-around sort of person. And I did get along with everyone. I'd have to say I got along with everyone, except probably in grade 12 where I had my first rumor ever made about me, which was an interesting experience, but people believed that it wasn't true, so obviously it went away. So then, then grade 10 came around. We went to Hawaii for a band trip because I play various instruments, like Terry said. And then grade 11 came and I won Junior Citizen of the Year. And grade 12 came around and I always wanted to be valedictorian, but it was the wrong reason to be valedictorian. I wanted all the fame and glamour of being the one who gets to go, and just having that name valedictorian, it sounded just the best name to have. So after actually being around my peers for the last 4 or 5 years, I realized what the job actually meant to be was to represent your whole class. So luckily, I was fortunate enough to be in front of my class and they elected me to be their valedictorian. So that's what I did, and I gave a 13-minute speech. I didn't know what she wanted me to do with a 15-minute speech, but it was quite interesting. But growing up being the only one here, it's well, not the only one here, but it was definitely difficult. I was actually having a conversation with my friend's mom the other day, and she said, "Oh, there's this girl at my daughter's elementary or high school, and she has the nicest long black hair, but her family is Muslim, and they won't let her wear her hair down." And then she proceeded to say, "Oh, well, George, if you saw this family, you would know that they were terrorists." And I was just shocked, and I told her, you shouldn't, just because they look a certain way, it doesn't mean that you should be labeling them in a certain way. And she tried to convince me. We had a 10-minute conversation where she's like, "Oh, these people are terrorists just because they look a certain way." So then I told her, "So what happens if one day you see me today and the next day you see me and I have a turban on and I have a long beard? Does that mean that I'm a terrorist?" And she thought about it and she realized that, oh, well, maybe that I have the wrong idea in my head. So luckily I was able to change one person's mind. But also in Nanaimo, have found that people believe that there is no racism, or everyone's just happy and everyone walks together under a rainbow with arms locked together. But that's not the situation. It hasn't been the situation for me or my family. When my mom started working in Ladysmith, she actually was working beside this one lady, and the lady went and complained to her boss and said that I won't work beside this lady because black people are dirty and disgusting and they don't know what they're doing. So, which is a pretty harsh thing to hear, especially as being such, because I was probably about 5 at the time, and thinking that just because I have a certain skin color doesn't mean that I'm different than anyone else, and I shouldn't be treated, or nor should my family be treated in such a way either. And also being a biology student, you learn that the only difference, there's about a 0.5% difference between everyone. Everyone came from the same region and eventually with sprawl went to different places. So there's really not a difference between me, Terry, or anyone else in this room other than skin color or what we look like. Some people look better than others, and I'm not going to say anything about myself though. But no, growing up in Nanaimo has been a different experience. I've been here, and people are generally nice, but sometimes you just get a feeling that obviously something's wrong when you're talking to someone, that it just feels that you're not welcomed in a sort of way. But then also throughout high school, as I talked to my friends, most of my friends didn't believe that I was different. They considered me just to be one of them. So then you would hear people in the hallways saying the N-word and other racial slurs. And it wasn't until then that I realized that, oh, well, my friends actually went up to these people and were like, why are you saying that? It's not the right thing to, there's no reason for you even to be saying that. And that's realizing that obviously there has been some change that has been made in this community, because before it would just be me approaching someone or not even saying anything at all. And to realize that one of my peers is realizing the exact same thing, or has somewhat been in my shoes. They can't really have been in my shoes, but they know how I feel every single day, just being the only one in my own high school. And another interesting story was that when I was in my last year of high school, our English teacher was having a conversation. We were reading a book called Lord of the Flies. I don't know if many of you know that book. So he decided that he would go on a long rampage about how German people, we had a couple of German exchange students in our class, and he decided that he would talk about how German people are unruly and they're all the same just from the times of Hitler and things like that. And I went to him after class and I told him, I said, is that really what you should be saying in front of, well, even to be saying that and just generalizing one certain group of the world? And he said, and I also said that there's people in our class who were from that and they felt very uncomfortable. He said, well, that's not your problem to decide. If they want to have someone actually come and talk, like be talked to, they should come and talk to me themselves. So then another day we're reading Lord of the Flies, and he goes through and he reads the N-word, and the whole class just gasped, because in previous classes that I've had, our teachers have warned us that, oh, it's in the book and that they're not going to read it. So I talked to one of my teachers and she said that, oh, he probably didn't mean it, it's just in the book. So then the next day, we all come in, we sit down, he closes the door, and I'm assuming she went and talked to him about it. So he closed the door and we look, and he goes to the board and in huge capital letters he writes N-I-G-G-E-R across the board. And then he looks at me, taps at the board, and has a long conversation about how he's not racist, but back in his day he didn't find it like his friends would call Asian people, I don't even want to say it myself, like it's even all the things that he said were just shocking to me, because I hadn't even heard these things before. So he went around and he discussed the whole book and the use of the word, and then he had an open dialogue with the class. And then he said, well, George, the last word goes to you. So being the only one in my classroom, it's obviously everyone staring at you. And what can you say? So all I said is I have no comment to say, because if it was something that he truly thought was something to be discussed, he would have come and talked to me personally instead of openly in an open forum in front of all of my peers, singling me out in front of everyone. So that's one of the many bad experiences. But Nanaimo's not one of the places I've never, not really have had many bad experiences in this community. I found it to be a very good community. I've been to many other places through my involvement in volunteer work and jobs as well. So I'm going to start my conclusion here. So